So how do you guys separate kind of who's doing what on the teams? I know you don't sell, and we've talked to Chuck wants to pull back from selling as much as he is. So how do you kind of define the roles between you guys?
We definitely have job descriptions and we have completely separate tasks in the business. That was a big thing when we started coaching with Ken Goodfellow. He was like, you guys need to have your vision. I need you to write your vision, and I need you both to write your job descriptions. Because when, there's conflict, it's because one person is stepping on the other person's toes.
So, and we noticed that when we did job descriptions, we were like, you think that's your job too? Right? And we had to have some serious conversations around like who does this. And I'll tell you, it's probably overdue now, because I would say like 3, 4, 5 years after doing that, the business has changed, people's roles have changed. So we still find that once in a while it's like, whose decision is this, right? Who's the captain of this? So it is something that needs to happen on a regular basis. I think we've let it go too long.
Yeah, definitely. But also I've achieved more leverage. So it's like, as time opens up for me, then I have more time to do things to move the business forward.
Right. So does it, one of you has kind of like final say on like this set of things, the other has a final say on this set, or is it collaborative on all of it?
Usually what we do, like, for example, we track everything in our business, right? And when I notice something is off, then it's like, I'll come to Chuck, and it's not anything formal. It could be just, even in our house.
It's usually waking up at 6:15.
Waking up, yeah, exactly.
Chuck.
But,
I have this idea.
Exactly. But anyways, coming to him armed with like the evidence of why we should do something a certain way, and then we agree together on the best course of action.
I would say we brainstorm ideas together. And sometimes we say it's time to bring the team in on some of the ideas too, because it's the group think is always more powerful than a single person. And and then the final path is usually something that's pretty obvious. Like I don't think there's a lot of friction that happens there. I find the hardest part is getting that initial like meeting where we can talk about it. I find it's like two ships in the night. But we found when the business struggles is when her and I are in the same sandbox. Like that job description thing, when we're overlapping, it really grinds. It doesn't work very well.
So what do you each spend like most of your time focusing on?
For me, it's definitely managing the details of the business. It's like, if the admin are having an issue, they come to me, right? I recruit and mentor the agents, and now I've kind of freed myself up a little bit because we have a mentorship program, so some of that heavy lifting has kind of come off my shoulders. And basically just tracking and working on projects and that kind of stuff.
I would say like admin and management is more where Melissa is, and then for me it's more sales and marketing. Like I know how to sell something, and I know how to get a message out. Like that's really my skill set. It's kind of thinking on my feet and transactionally when challenges come up. But the agents sometimes will go to Melissa for something, they'll go to me for something. It's like they know that we process things differently. That's a nice thing. In the business, that's a big asset, that you and I are different, and it lends, sometimes it's better her, sometimes it's better me. In your business, like how do you decide who does what?
So like now it's relatively clear with like the team we have. I mean, there's always a few overlaps here and there, but we've got it pretty much figured out. So like Trisha runs all like operations task management from like the client side of things. So if anything, like making sure things are done on time, quality, all that, she handles that. Jen and Maureen are the ones implementing. Jen does a little bit more implementing for art, like for just sell home stuff. Maureen does more of the like client implementation. Johnny and I collaborate on strategy, and then she does all like obviously all the copywriting, landing page building, and then we've actually recently kind of moved Maureen a bit under Johnny to like train her how to do, because like Johnny is like you've met her, like she has a very high skill set on like the marketing side, and so it's not really worth her time to be like, okay, let's put this shade of blue on the landing page and like move this button here. She can give that to Maureen, and then Maureen can kind of actually go and implement
Right.
it. So we're getting her more into the strategy side of things,
Yeah.
and then more copywriting. And then I do then Steph does our sales, so like all the incoming sales calls, and then she has special projects. So like our operations manual, conversion guide for clients for lead conversion, different things like that. And then I focus more on like enterprise level deals, vision, that side of it. And then lots of content, obviously. Stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly. He has an interesting philosophy about CEOs, and I thought this was cool. So all the CEOs that you really look up to he says you need some baseline level of knowledge about accounting and leadership and all that stuff. But he says like the real legendary CEOs were like really good at one of them. Like Steve Jobs was like a really good. He was really, design was his thing, right? And so it's like it'd be interesting to kind of go all three of us and say like, what's your
so what's yours? You're bringing it up. Let's start.
It's hard because I think I suffer from like I'm good at a lot of things. Great. I would say it's probably delivering a message to people. I'm a messenger by heart. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's definitely problem solving. Like I can solve.
I can see that.
Anything. Like the agents come to me and they're like, "Oh my God, this happened." I'm like, "Oh, you should do this, this, and this," and they're like, "Oh."
Yeah. But the dark shadow of that from a leadership, and they're all double-edged swords.
Oh my God, is there a bug on me?
Nope. I think you hit it on me.
Ew.
It's outdoors, baby. But the dark shadow of that is sometimes you get mired in the details, and sometimes it's hard to not pull yourself up from that.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. What about you?
It's hard to say. Like, it's one of those I always go back and forth. But like, it's definitely something in around the marketing thing. But like, is it getting a message across? Like, I kind of try to think of myself a bit, especially with content, as like, I'm not creating content as much as I'm reporting. Like, I'll come and like, okay, here's what happened when we tried this, and like, we're showing them. Like, have you ever read Russell Brunson? He has I can't remember if it's Expert Secrets or .com secret. I think it's Expert Secrets, but he talks about there's basically like five archetypes that if you're gonna like do like a personal brand, you want to be one of them. There's like the adventurer who goes out on adventures and like you just see what they're doing. Like that'd be like Danny Wood. Like he goes and he's always out there doing stuff, and you're like following along the journey.
Right.
And then the one that I fit in would probably be like the reporter, where I go out, do things, then report back about what we found or what's happening there.
Right.
So that's kind of how I look at a lot of what we're doing, is just like reporting back to people. And I think I do a good job of conveying that message in ways that people can understand it really simply.
Right. Do you remember the other ones? So there was adventurer, reporter.
I have to get back. I can't remember now off the top of my head. Those were like because those were the two when I was looking at it of like, it'd be one of those two that I thought that I would fit into.
Yeah, because I can see that. Because you're always kind of trying, like on the bleeding edge of whatever it is, right? So the adventure side fits that.
So I think it's kind of like there is a bit of a bleed between them, like adventure, but then reporting back on what we did.
Right.
Right. Like I always have that style of like, okay, come back, show you kind of the behind the scenes too. Like we were talking about the like I'll share everything we do and all the reasons behind things. I've never tried to like hide that, because the more I give people, like the odds of someone else like getting a show, getting people on it and like competing, it's so hard. And then by the time they start to get that traction, I can adapt and make the show better by having to, basically.
You're on to the next by that time.
So I'm never too worried about oversharing. Plus, the more I share, generally I find the more people are like, okay, you just do it for us. Yeah. Like, it's funny, like I did an advanced, you were at it, like the advanced Facebook ads boot camp, where it's like, okay, this day we're going to like go deep on like, here's the advanced stuff.
Right.
And that was probably the most successful event I ever had from a getting clients out of it perspective.
Right.
Like probably a third of the room signed up.
They're like, hell no, I don't want to do that.
That would have been us too. I think we were one of the ones that just
you
said,
were.
hey, like let's jump in on this.